E360 TV proudly presents messages of inspirational stories. Live streaming now to millions of devices, including Roku, Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, with your host, Donna Guinwa, producer and host, Jim Grant, producer and host, along with Michaela Vidal, administrator and host, and Gaia Guinwa Balconi Wada, editor-in-chief. And welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. We're so glad that you're here. My goodness gracious. We are really excited about this new fall programming. But before I get started here, I want to mention Mr. Bill Heinrich. Our show is brought to you by The 7 Levels of Truth by Mr. Bill Heinrich. And every time I hold that book up, I seem to goof up the lighting for some reason or other. But our new fall program is really exciting. Oh, my goodness gracious. We're going to be talking today about making a difference in business, and Mr. Emerson Brantley is having some technical difficulty, even though he survived the recent hurricane there in Florida. Ian, technical problems have seemed to be an issue. We're going to try to get that ironed out as we go on in the show. But every Monday is making a difference in business. And this is not about making money for yourself. This is how you can make a difference in other people's lives. We're going to take a look at a little bit back of history here. We're going to look in the rearview mirror a little bit today about the Industrial Revolution. And on Tuesdays, of course, finding health naturally. Now, tomorrow I'm going to have my real good friend, Annalee Scott, on here. And Annalee and her husband, Raymond, he has kidney failure. 1 in 9 people suffer from kidney disease. So we're going to have her here, and Raymond is scheduled to have a kidney transplant, but we're going to find out some great information there, because a lot of the information that I've known over the years by knowing her, the average person doesn't know, and it's very, very important. On Wednesdays, of course, Youth Making a Difference. We're going to have the young lady back that was on our show on Thursday, Pets We Love, Mama Mo Kozlowski. And this lady here, she's the one that has, her dogs, her red pit bull terriers. They've been in movies out in Hollywood. And I asked her, I said, what shows would you like to be on? She says, I want to be on Pets We Love on Thursday last week. And she says, I would definitely want to be on Wednesdays, because Wednesday's about youth making a difference. This is a two-sided type of program, if I could say that. Youth making a difference means young people who saw a need for an invention, or they saw a lack, and they either invented something, created something. They may have started a cause like a nonprofit, or reached out to get things cleaned up in the area, whatever. But also too, this is very, very critical and very, very important for us today. All over the world, our young people, especially our youth, they need mentors. And Mama Mo, I always call it Monique. Mo, she's going to be sharing with us tomorrow some of the things that she's done to help motivate youth, because after all, your true life experience could help some kid somewhere at some time. That's how valuable you are. So please embrace that. Then, of course, Thursdays, I mentioned a lot, Pets We Love. Fridays, Women in Leadership. And this is for ladies from all walks of life. We're going to have some last week we had Deb Lewis on. We've got a young lady that might be with us on Friday. We don't know yet, depending on her schedule. She's out of town, but we'd love to have her. And if not, we'll have another lady that I have in reserve. But anyway, this program here is about women who are trailblazers, and women who have, they've demonstrated leadership in their life. And this leadership doesn't apply just to women. A lot of the women leaders, they are also very instrumental in the lives of young men. And I just like to say also, Our show is brought to you by the 6-Minute Webinar. Now, here is something that might be of interest and value to you. Let me put our website up there, or excuse me, our email address. If you or someone you know is struggling to get your message out on what you do and how you do it and all that, the 6-Minute Webinar is for you. Because within that 6 minutes, you not only can have your introduction, your body, and your close, but you can also have a call to action. That's very, very important. Because this past weekend, I clicked on a site that seemed kind of interesting. And it was a typical one of these, if you want to call it a webinar, it's one of these things where the guy goes on and on and on. I'm going like, come on, let's wrap this thing up here. I mean, get me to the punchline here. Let me make a decision here. And so many people feel like they got a bow breachy. This is the problem. This is what we did. This another problem I ran into. And this is what this person said. Because testimonials don't mean anything to me unless I know the person. And I'm sure you're the same way out there. But the 6-minute webinar can enable you to get your product across or your service across with an introduction, a body, and a close, and a call to action, all within 6 minutes or less, period. If you'd like to know more about that, be sure and email us here at inspiration@e360tv. Will be .com. Excuse me a minute. Apologize for that. I'm kind of working several things here. I'm trying to stay in touch with Emerson here because he's having trouble trying to get in. And I understand that technical problems sometimes can be so aggravating. But today we're going to talk about the Industrial Revolution. And what I find interesting here is Mr. Emerson. Let's see if did you put enough quarters in there today, brother?
I don't know, man. I had them all on the vibrator for the bed, you know?
Yeah, I hear you. That's right. I remember those old go to the hotel bed. You put dimes
Magic
in there.
fingers.
Yeah, and magic fingers. Yeah, and you go to sleep there. And I've only used those a couple of things, but I got to be honest with you. I didn't find them that relaxing, to be honest with you.
I didn't either.
Yeah.
But for a quarter.
How are you? Yeah.
I'm doing okay. Are you seeing me and hearing me? I guess you're hearing me.
Yes, sir.
I mean, on my screen, it's still showing it just a black square. So.
Oh, you're fine.
Okay.
You're fine. Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, you look better than I do. Or to black out my screen then, huh?
Wow.
That might be the secret.
Oh, there you are. Now I'm seeing you.
Oh, okay. I had to adjust my camera there. Maybe I was a little bit off.
Technology grand, you know. I told people over the years that I live in the devil's triangle of electronics, and this is just validating that one more time.
Mm-hmm. First of all, we're very, very fortunate that you're here. We're very, very thankful that you did not suffer any damage from the recent hurricane there in the area where you lived in Florida. And so happy your daughter was good after she moved in an apartment 2 days before. And
in Orlando.
In Orlando, yeah. I bet. Yeah, did you ever lose communication as far as cell phone or anything, or?
No, in the area that we live in it's very common for us to lose power or lose connectivity with something far less than this. So it was really amazing. We did not lose either one.
That is amazing.
Very fortunate. We missed a bullet. A lot of people did not, and you know, our hearts go out to all of those people who are, you know, they're suffering, and a lot of people believe a lot of, you know, a lot of conversations that go on about what's happening in the climate, and they continue to build houses. We certainly have seen it over the last 3 or 4 years. Right on the water, right on the intercoastal, right on the ocean. And, you know, it's one of those things. and without us getting into politics here, Jim, it's like COVID. COVID doesn't care if you believe in it or not, right?
Yeah, yeah, there you go.
Right?
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, your heart attack or my TBI. Well, guess what? Nothing cares about whether you believe in it or not.
You're exactly right. You know, Emerson, today I was going to reflect a little bit about the Industrial Revolution. I saw something on it here recently on TV. My wife likes to watch the History Channel, and I sit down and
Oh, it's
watch
a great
this show. Oh yeah, because I like tractors. I'm a farm boy, a country boy. But what really impressed me, and I see this not only with this particular era of the Industrial Revolution, but this is the way the world turns for in life for all of us. And that is during the Industrial Revolution, there were different people popping up all over the place working on same and similar type of things. And that was way before they had any type of communication like we've got today. Many of them didn't even have home telephones, you know?
Well, you know, that's hand in glove with something that's long been a I don't know what you want to call it, a belief, a sixth sense, a sense of, for me, and I'll share why it matters to me. Anytime you have some idea or something you think is really cool or really great or really changing, game changing for people, know that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of other people all over the world who are having the same thought at the same moment that you are. It's like, and I describe it like this: there's a great old word, miasma, which is the heavy air that would hang over swamps and things. But there's this miasma that kind of hangs around the earth that has these brilliant little insights in it. And thousands of people are getting those insights at the same moment in time.
Yeah.
But only one or two or three or a handful will take action on them.
Oh,
so we're talking about the 19th century, I think today. I may have jumped the gun since I came in late, but the Wright brothers were the first to have powered flight in the early 1900s. I think it was 1903, I believe.
Yeah, 1903. That's correct.
They were the first ones, but they were by far not the first ones to be thinking and planning and trying to figure it out and sort it out and put the pieces together that would make that work.
Yeah.
There were several others. In fact, there are a number that are argued as having been before them, but nevertheless, there were many others who were at that same moment in time coming to the same conclusions and figuring it out. There's this miasma of thoughts.
You know, Emerson, you've heard me talk a lot about following the energy, and that is so true. That's okay. And that is so true in anything that you do, because so many times in life, I've seen this in my own life, and I'm sure some of you folks out there in TV land have experienced this too. You know, you need to do something like make a change. And you don't really know what the change is, but you don't worry about it because you know, since you're on a searching mission, your mind somehow will deliver the goods. And I call that energy because I do think in that energy bubble that's above us, it's at the right time, at the right moment, the right thoughts come to the right people. And it just depends on whether the people who act on them or go to sleep on them.
And most people, myself included, over the years, I've done it, go to sleep on it. I'll give you a specific example for me.
Okay.
We've all seen these cooler chests that you can buy that actually have the motor inside of the compressor inside of them, so you can plug it into your car and it'll keep things cold.
Right.
Well, I drew that out. I had this. I didn't know what a heat pump was at the time, and a heat pump can reverse it so you can heat and cool in the same cooler. But I actually drew this whole thing out 2 or 3 years before you ever heard of anybody selling them, and all of a sudden they were everywhere. And there are two different ways you can look at that. You can,
Mhm.
Jim, you can look at it and say, well, gee, boy, I came up with, back in the day, I came up with that, blah, 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 blah. Or you can look at it and say, you know what? I need to pay attention to the thoughts that I had in my head because they had value.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
other people are acting on that value and trusting your thoughts.
Yes.
This doesn't
Yes.
matter if you're a man or a woman or a child. It doesn't matter if you're old or young. Your thoughts have value.
Yes, they do.
And you've heard me say this before, Jim. Familiarity breeds contempt. Well,
yeah.
The person who's most familiar with us is ourself. And when we step out of that place of devaluing ourselves or our thoughts and taking action on them,
yes,
magic happens.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does, Emerson. It truly does. And I think we can all relate to what Emerson is saying there. And there's been a couple of times in my life when I've had a good idea and someone else, would think of it later on. I thought, well, I had that idea. I have heard people say, and there was a gentleman, a good friend of mine back in the 40s, he and his dad saw a need and they developed the very first gooseneck trailer. But they only did it for themselves because the dad realized that the bumper back there was too much weight on it at the very end of the vehicle, the truck. And he says, where the weight needs to be centered is over the axle, which would require the gooseneck to come over. And of course, they didn't think about patenting that. And look what happened. Gooseneck trailers is very common. You see them up and down, especially in Texas, run up down the road. And they're a lot more convenient because you can back them a lot easier without the tongue getting close to the bump or anything like that. I mean, you can just do a 90-degree turn on those things if you are backing up, and it's really amazing. But, when it comes to these inventions and in your daily life right now, inventors, regardless of when the invention was made or what era they're in, every single one of us runs into brick walls.
Oh, yeah.
I want to mention one person in particular. This guy is Benjamin Holt. And Benjamin Holt, he was out in Sacramento, California, and he, saw, a steam engine, and that got his mind to turning. Wow. Steam engines, of course, Robert Fulton created the first steamboat, which was people laughed at because at first it wouldn't run. They worked on it and then it did run.
With oars that came down the side. It was really strange looking.
It was the strangest thing they'd ever seen. And they labeled it Fulton's Folly. And he cranked it up. It ran a little bit, then it quit. And then they had the crowd was there laughing because they showed up to see the thing fail. They wanted to laugh at him. But then him and his crew, they figured out what happened. They got it fixed within about 30 minutes, and it made the voyage where it was going from New York to Albany. I think it was 150 miles in about 32 hours, and the return trip was about 30 hours, but it was fully successful.
Which New York to Albany is upstream. Now, for anybody whether you've ever been in a boat or not, it's easier to sit in a boat and have it go downstream. Because it'll just go with the flow.
Right.
But to go upstream, and in those days they used sailboats.
Yes.
Or like on the Erie Canal, what they had to do was use oxen on the side of it. Right. They would use sailboats and they would have to tack against that. It was a lot of work.
Yeah, a lot of zigzagging.
And if you can imagine a river like the Mississippi River.
Ooh, yeah.
How much that changed the entire future of towns and people up and down the Mississippi River. It was all because of his failed.
Fulton's folly.
About it. His folly.
The thing he felt in that moment This is his maiden voyage. People are there to see him, and he knows most of them are there to jeer at him and say, this goofy thing, it ain't going to work. And then when it quit after just a little bit of running, I'm just talking about just 15 seconds or something, it stalled. They couldn't get it going. Then everybody's ha, 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 laughing. And imagine how he felt. But yet, him and his crew worked on it for 30 minutes. They got it going, and of course, it was successful. Now, Benjamin Holt saw that steam engine, and he says, hey, if that will work on water, it will also work on land. And he had a desire in his heart to create a farm tractor. And he did. But he worked on it, and he sold quite a few of them. But the problem was with his farm tractor, my goodness gracious, the steam-driven tractor capable of hauling 50 tons. He named the first one Old Betsy. It'd travel about 3 miles an hour. But the problem of it was this thing, the engine was 60 horsepower. It was 24 feet long on a frame. It burned coal or oil or fuel as fuel. It had to have 675 U.S. gallons on board for steam, and it weighed 48,000 pounds. Now, in a farmer's field, that is not a good thing, because this guy came to see him that bought one of his tractors, and he was mad, and he says, what's your problem? He says, my problem is I'm a farmer in Iowa, and my tractor is stuck and I can't get it out. It's just too heavy. And so a lot of people would quit when they run into a brick wall. He had a problem, but he wanted to solve it. And so he got to thinking about it and working on it and looking at different things. He looked at the jagged wheels that they had in those days, and he says, hey, if I fill those jagged wheels with wooden blocks. And then he kept dreaming about how that would work, visualizing that in his mind. He came up with a track. So then he had his next tractor. He had a photographer out there, says, I want you to photograph this thing coming over the hill. He said, it's coming. It's slow, but it's coming. And the photographer, when he saw it, he just had never seen anything like that before in his life. This thing was just coming, just crawling, He said, wow, that's like a caterpillar. And Holt says, that's the perfect name for it. So the caterpillar, the bulldozer we know at the track, that's how it got born. And then when World War I broke out, England says, hey, those track vehicles are great. Of course, they had converted to gasoline engines then, which really, got away with about 48,000 pounds of weight. And they ordered a bunch of them. Then they says, hey, that would be a great transport for us to transport troops. But if we put metal around them and give them some guns, guess what? Tank. That's how all that came about. But the reason why this great invention was created was because of that farmer that got stuck in the field and went to him as a complaint, upset. This is a customer that's mad. He's upset. He's got a problem. And problems are really opportunities, aren't they, Emerson?
Yep. I'm gonna share one with you.
Sure.
Jim, because that was an unanticipated consequence of him creating it.
Mm-hmm.
He never probably imagined anything at all that was militarily beneficial or anything that would be involved in anything other than solving that one problem.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes unintended consequences are good.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they're not.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the biggest problems with cotton was cleaning cotton seeds out of the cotton bolls.
Mm.
And it took a lot of, unpaid manpower, woman power to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But by the same token, they could only do so much. As no matter how many servants or slaves you had.
That's right.
It was limited. in terms of planting, picking, and cleaning the cotton.
Mm-hmm.
So Eli Whitney, and I think it was 1794, came up with the cotton gin, which really, if you ever look at it, is a very simple concept.
Yeah.
Basically, it takes combs and brushes through the cotton to pull out the seeds. Well, the unintended consequence of that was suddenly cotton became king. It became something wanted in countries all over the world.
Oh, yeah.
And it had a direct influence on, depending on how you think about it, but it had a direct influence on the Civil War because it massively increased the number of servants or slaves that were needed in order to have the huge plantations that now made sense because you had a way to take the cotton, run it through a gin and clean it out and be just producing millions of pounds of cotton to be shipped to Europe and wherever else, all over the U.S. And that directly led to the explosion in that part of the society. And that had a direct influence on our own Civil War, which was
it did.
a devastating event.
Yeah.
And those are things that in all of these, there's always unintended consequences. And when we're smart, and they're not always bad, but when we're smart, when we're thoughtful about it, we try to look for what's the unintended consequence of this? What is the thing that I'm not thinking about yet? Because we only know what we know, and we don't know what we don't know. Those are two solid facts for all of us to be remembering is I only know what I know, and I don't know what I don't know. So what is it that I don't know that I need to know?
Oh, yeah.
Or I need to be thinking about it at least.
Yeah. I remember the cotton gins very well because growing up there in North Carolina, my dad had a small farm and we raised two products, cotton and corn. And we go up there to the cotton gin and that thing, what it was a big, it was made out of tin, but it was a big vacuum hose and it sucked the cotton.
By the time you came along,
it was, it was just a big vacuum. This is in the 50s. And the thing with, we'd have our sheets of cotton there because you load them up, you have pick sacks. Because I pick cotton. You dump the pick sacks onto the sheets and you tie them up and you lift them up and put them in the wagon there. And then when you get a full load, and I look back now and I think, oh my goodness, DOT would have had a stroke if they'd seen my dad in that trailer going down the road, because that thing was just like this. It would wobble behind the tractor and all, doing this thing. And it was grossly overloaded. No question about that.
Yep, I've seen plenty of those.
And we never had any mishap or anything, but the gym was only just a short ways from the house. It was only about a mile of the house, so it wasn't no big deal. But I remember the big, it was like a 10 or 12 inch, hose that came down. It was just a 10 round cylinder type thing, and it could go up and down like this with handles, and you'd have to pull the sheets out and everything. And of course, boys being boys, and my brother being there, he would wait till I was doing something, have my back turned, and that big hose, you could bend it anywhere, and guess where he would hit me at?
I can only imagine, Jim.
And let me just humbly say,
he wasn't pulling cotton. That's all I can say.
No. And a good time was had all, and I survived it. But
and then the gin would produce bales. And those bales were big. Tell them how big they were. They were really big.
They were about, if I remember correctly, about 5.5 foot tall. They were probably 4 foot wide, about 2.5 foot thick. They were hundreds of pounds.
Jack, thousands. They were very heavy, and they wrapped them in burlap.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, keep the cotton together.
Yeah, burlap was a big thing. That's what our sheets were made out of, these big burlap sacks, And it's nothing like to take a trip down memory lane here, especially for making a difference in business. But when it comes to all of these inventions, every single one of these inventors faced adversity.
Oh, absolutely.
And a lot of these inventors, some of them quit. People who
More
were
quit,
working
more
on,
quit, more quit than came through.
yeah. Because like I said earlier, imagine how, Robert Fulton felt when he was going to crank up his ship, the Claremont, he called it. And, he had already faced one disaster with Napoleon over his submarine. Napoleon labeled him as a shyster and a crook. And there was a lot of, unfortunate situations there. But the crowd showed up just to simply jeer and laugh at him. That would be enough to make most people not even want to show up. Who wants to show up for a crowd to laugh at them? That's and to just keep on keeping on. That takes a lot of courage. And when it comes to the inventors of that time, it was really amazing because as Emerson was talking about earlier, how thousands of people are working on the same thing. While Benjamin Holt was busy working on his farm tractor, little did he know there was a little farm boy who had an auto business in Detroit by the name of Henry Ford. Henry Ford first built his tractor. He says, I need something light. I need something affordable, yada, yada. And he actually used parts that he was putting on his cars. That's why an Ford tractor sounds just like a Model A. It's got the same engine in it. He put the engine in there. But his first attempt at making a Ford tractor, he failed miserably. It was too light. It would turn over easy. He had kind of his front end was kind of the suspension was kind of diamond shaped, so it had a pivot point up there. His idea it would roll and all that, but yes, it would roll. It would turn over, so it had some problems there. But here was Holt thinking he's going to be the king of the world of the tractors, and here comes Henry Ford with his very affordable, Ford tractors that he made. And what happened was that both of them were successful, because both of them had the desire in their heart to persevere. I mean, Henry Ford, I don't think ever made a Caterpillar or a bulldozer, but Holt sure did. And it's just amazing. So when you see someone that might be doing something you're trying to do, bless them and let them go, because they're not you. They don't have your energy. They don't have your intelligence. They do not have, if you want to call it, your stars in line with them, because there is energy that will come to you that will help you in your hour of need. There's just something about that. I wish my mind understood it enough and my tongue could explain it. But ladies and gentlemen, I do know it exists. It truly does.
Sure, it's real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, another great one is our Edison and Tesla.
Oh,
everyone knows about Tesla, the cars.
Mm-hmm.
They're named after Tesla, the inventor who worked for Edison. The difference was that Tesla had a vision for electricity that was what we call AC. It's the electricity in your home today.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Edison had a vision for it that was DC, which is like your car running from a battery.
Direct current.
That's a simplistic way to put it. There's more to it than that, alternating current versus direct current. But the reality was that Tesla was missing the mark on how, but he was on top of the vision for what was needed for the future. Whereas Edison had all of the things in place, General Electric and all of that, everything in place to proceed and build what he was doing. But they just had to keep having new stations too close to each other. It was just, they had to keep adding more and more and more and more energy into it.
Yeah.
And so even though Edison came out ahead, the vision that Tesla had is actually the one that we live with today in our homes.
That's right. Alternating current. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sure is. And it was amazing how, well, see, Tesla did work for Edison one time, but then they had to part ways, and
Oh yeah,
Edison went out of his way to discredit the alternating current
absolutely.
and try to discredit the man left and right. And the thing that I'd like to, the reason why I mention that to you is that even though someone may be doing something that you're trying to do, don't discredit them.
Mm-mm.
That only comes back on you. That tarnishes your name, because look down through history. People know the truth today about Tesla, how brilliant he was. People know today that Edison, as brilliant as he was, he let greed and jealousy tarnish his good
Oh
image.
yeah,
And see, we know
and
that.
ego.
Oh, yeah, don't forget the ego, and don't put a bucket of pride in there. That goes along with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the thing of it is that make sure in your endeavors, what you're doing there, ask for divine guidance and seek help. And you saw me earlier, I put up this thing here about Earl Nightingale, The Strangest Secret, on YouTube. And if you're not able to get YouTube, you can actually pick it up on Google. You can pick up the PDF. It's about 20 pages long. Here it is, The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale on YouTube. And what's interesting about that is that Earl does a very good job of explaining about the things in our mind. Our mind does not know the difference. We can think good thoughts or bad thoughts. We
Right.
have that choice. He says, I love the example he uses. Think of your mind being like a fertile field for a farmer. If the farmer plants corn, he'll get corn. If he plants a deadly poison like nightshade, that's what it will yield. The secret of it is the farmer had the choice of which plants or which seed he was going to plant. And in our life today, in our everyday life, we have the prerogative to choose what seeds of thought that we want to see develop in our life. And The Strangest Secret by Earl Nightingale says it really isn't a secret. I mean, wise men have passed it down for a generation. It's mentioned several times in the Bible. And the secret of it is just all you have to do is ask for divine guidance. All you got to do is just tell your mind, I've got a problem and I'm looking for an answer. Don't worry about how it's going to be answered. Just plant that seed in your mind. And
Well, even scripturally, there's the great adage or story, and I think I want to say it's in Matthew, but in the New Testament, the Christian Bible, but it's the story of the sower sowing the seed.
Yes.
And sometimes the sower sows the seed, and sometimes it falls on good ground, sometimes it falls on rocky ground, sometimes it falls among thorns. So the sower is sowing the seed. But some of that seed grows 100, 1,000 times and gives that return to the sower. So, the thing about the sower sowing the word is understanding that we don't always hit it right, but that doesn't mean you stop.
No, not at all.
We don't always hit it right. But we keep sowing, and some of it ends up coming back, and now that's where we begin putting more and more of our focus. And even with this show, even here with the show with Jim, with Donna, there's so many different interests and opportunities and directions and things that have come together that and some of them have developed, and some of them may develop. And some of them have led to others that may develop. But you don't. There's a great old saying, don't look at what you lost, you look at what you have left. What we have to do is to be constantly in that forward motion, as Jim loves to say, following the energy, in that forward motion, and trusting. And trust is a huge part of it. Trusting that the effort and the energy and the thoughts and the things that are present there in your mind
Mhm.
have value and are going to develop, some
Mhm.
50, some 100, and some 1,000 fold.
Mhm. Sure
But they
will.
will
Yeah,
develop.
always. Mhm.
Other people, there are plenty of people out there to shoot it down.
Oh yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
that's just that's par for the course. That's
Yeah.
we call that
Mhm.
life. There's a
Mhm.
four-letter word for it, life.
Oh yeah. I
It's
like
not
what.
about them. It's about trusting and believing and following and keeping
Oh
that
yeah.
one foot in front of the other
Mhm.
and continuing to move forward and finding the things that work
Mhm.
and then going following the energy.
Yeah. And always have a list of what went well, and then on the other side, lessons learned. Not what didn't go well, but the lessons learned, because you're going to learn lessons along the way.
You should.
And I
Some
like
people
it.
some people don't, but you should.
I hear you. I like it when it's been recorded that Marcus Aurelius, the great
Yes.
Roman emperor, he said that a man's life is what his thoughts make of it. That is so true.
Yep.
And Disraeli said that everything comes if a man will only wait. And Ralph Waldo Emerson said that a man is what he thinks about all day long. Now, I like that one there. That you are what you think about all day long. Now, if you think about failure, this is one thing about the mind. If you think about failure, your mind will not let you disappoint yourself. And if you think about being successful, your mind will not allow you to, it won't disappoint you. It won't allow you to fail because you've made up your mind you're going to be successful. You've made up your mind you're going to, open up some doors and you're looking for answers. You're following the energy. And I tell you, with this, and I got to give a shout out to Emerson because Emerson was the one that came up with the idea that we need to do programs per day. And let me tell you what, he had to explain it to me twice before I got it. I wish I was making that up, but that's the truth. And because the first time I was thinking, well, I don't know about that, I mean, because we've been doing theme weeks. We did homeschooling,
Right.
we did heart disease, we did this, we did that. And when he explained it to me the second time, I started interrupting him because I was getting it and he could tell I was getting it. And what really happened, what put the cheese on the pizza, as you might say, was that and this is when you know that you know that you know that you know that you're
Because you
headed
know
in
it.
the right direction. Yeah.
Yep.
That's when people outside of your inner circle, when I tell people what we're doing, they get excited. We got some people that want to join in and do what we're doing, and they're bringing in ideas. Hey, I've got this friend here that can, really help you there. And this person here knows that person. And you don't normally get that when you're doing just a basic interview with speakers because our flavor is a little bit different. We're not about, sure, where we're about information, sure, but it's not in the typical guest mode where they interview people and stuff like that. We're all
Right.
about content, storytelling, and all that. Just like today, we shared some great stories with you of people who, persevered, and
But
that's what you have to
stories
do.
that may impact your own life.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Was I accurate in my description about describing how how program days came about?
Well, I wasn't maybe as aware that you were resistant to it in the beginning. I mean, I saw it clearly and I was explaining it and
Yeah.
you were thinking about it and
I said, let
you
me
know,
think on it. And because I'm open minded, but I wasn't able to, I kept misconnecting the dots. You ever been there?
oh yeah.
And you know what I mean?
Well,
It's
just
kind
just
of,
earlier just earlier today, you told me about one new person that we talked to who will be on some of our future
mhm.
broadcasts.
Oh,
He
yeah.
said, "Well, I'll be on this one on this day, and I'll be on this one on that day, and
Yeah.
I'll be on this one on the other day."
Yeah.
And there were three different
Yeah.
subjects
Mhm.
that she identifies with,
Oh, yeah. And
and now what took place as a result is you have somebody who will be bringing input into 3 different topical programs.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, being a guest for
Mm-hmm.
3 different days, 3 different
Yes.
programs, but also they will bring
Oh.
different insights and input into it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
so that week, when that program is on,
Yeah.
their input will be totally different than whatever the following week will be, even though the topical discussion will end up being about the same things.
Oh, yeah. And plus, people can tune in for, days of a topic that they're really interested in.
Oh, yeah.
That makes it so much more valuable. And plus, this young lady that I mentioned at the beginning of the show, it's Mama Mo Kozlowski. She's excited about bringing in some other people that she knows, people that I would never, ever, ever have access to. Let me put it like that. And that's an honest statement. People, if you call me, go, "You're who?" And you want what? Okay, well, all right. Well, thanks for calling. One of them deals. But see, that's what I mean about the excitement. When the energy starts, if you let it breathe, the biggest problem sometimes is that people block their own energy. Their ego gets in the way. They want to mold it and they want to shape it. Yeah, because fear. Yeah, exactly. It's funny, Emerson, and I'm glad you brought that up because first time I read that people were more afraid of success than they were of failure, I'm going like, what?
Isn't that funny? It's a funny thing to.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Fear of success.
Mm-hmm.
Fear of success.
Yeah.
And it can be for a lot of different reasons. They can fear it because they don't deserve it, or they think it'll turn them into something that they identify people who've been successful maybe in negative ways and they don't want to be that way. Or it can be a lot of different things, but fear of success is every bit as big as fear of failure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, a lot of people deep down inside, when it comes to fear of being successful and, not only just being successful in what they do, but being rewarded for their efforts, some people, believe it or not, in their mind, they don't think they're worthy of having that much money, or they may be afraid that much money may change their life or something of this. Somewhere in the canyons of their mind, it scares them.
Or they may become something that they despise.
Yes.
And for whatever the reason, for whatever that reason is, it can be a bad experience that they've had. It can be just emotional attitudes about success.
Yeah, other people's lives. Yeah, other people's lives. Because it's kind of interesting about the lottery winners. A lot of them. They talk about, I wish I had never won it. And how many? Most of their lives are. They're kind of like worse off than they were before.
Oh, it has messed up families.
Oh,
it's messed up relationships. It is called suicides. I mean, it's just amazing.
It's been a train wreck.
People, most of our listeners, you're probably listening to it thinking, well, throw a few $1 million my way. I think I could handle that.
Yeah, I'll show you an exception. Just watch me.
But
just call my number. Yeah, just pick my numbers.
The reality is we have 40, 50 years of lottery winners, and there's a massive history of people where winning the lottery was not the thing that made that great, wonderful difference in their life. In fact, they lost all of the things that were important to them.
Yes.
And they're not stupid. They're just people just like everybody else.
Yeah. Part of the reason for that, and this is not the only reason, but a big part of that was that there's something about life that, you got to have dignity, you got to have merit, and you got to earn it. And if you just stop in at a convenience store and buy some lottery tickets and boom, you win $40 million, you didn't earn that. And Emerson, you may be able to explain that a little better than I am. I'm just kind of like hitting the white caps going across the lake. But really, uh, when you don't earn something, you don't have the dignity. That's why people on welfare, they still, feel like that I feel like we rob them of their dignity because they're just getting handouts. They're not getting a hand up in life. And I think that's very, very important because you got to feel good about what you've accomplished in your life.
There are people who genuinely need.
Yes.
They need that assistance, and they need to
Yes.
have it in a way that is that hand up, as you
hand up. Exactly. I mean,
well,
like
I
people.
had a really funny and strange kind of feeling on the lottery, and that's I've seen two different people win thousands of dollars who did not buy a ticket. I've seen that, and I can go into how that happened, but just trust me on that. Okay.
Okay.
And so somewhere along the way there, and I began. I had a pool that we're about 20 of us kicked in every week, and we did that for about 6 months. We didn't win anything, but I finally came to the conclusion. You know what, Jim? If God wants me to win the lottery, He doesn't need my dollar. And people say, "Well, how are you going to win if you don't play?" It's like there are lots of ways to win without playing. It's not that. It's that if God wants me to win, He doesn't need my dollar for it to happen. It's like, well, I wanted you to win, but you didn't put your dollar in, so you don't win.
Yeah,
this is a little bit bigger concept.
Yeah, it really. I tell people last time I bought a lottery ticket, almost won that thing, brother. I only missed it by 6 numbers.
Well, and now you have the big ones that have the what do they call it? Our listeners will know. But they have the Powerball.
Powerball, yeah.
So you got to get the Powerball right. But
yeah.
But honestly, I can tell you maybe on another show exactly where I have seen two different people win without having bought a ticket.
So they won without buying a ticket. Okay, all right, and they didn't participate.
Well, I take it back. One was without buying the ticket. The other one won because of somebody who didn't buy a ticket. So I'll just add a little bit more pixie dust to that whole story. But the thing is, you know what? If God can save God, and this isn't regardless of your concept about a more powerful being, God, or however you picture the universe. We can spend $1 million and not save one person's life.
That's right.
God, with a penny, can save an entire continent.
Oh, yeah.
It's not about money. Is something that is important, but it's not. It's not this universal thing that this is what makes it all happen.
Exactly right.
It is something that we have created. Humans have created.
Yeah.
And it's something that matters. But in all of your work, if you own a business or in your family or anything else, so many businesses rate the value of their marketing and of their business and their success on how much is in the dollar bottom line at the end of the month. But you know what? It's about the relationships.
Oh, yeah.
Value and trust that you build on a week by week and day by day and month by month basis. That's true in a business. That's true in our personal life. And that's what really makes the difference.
It certainly is. And Emerson, we got about 1 minute left, and I just want to thank you. I just want to thank you so much for being able to clear out all those technical issues and be with us today. And my goodness gracious, we got to hear more about that one individual that did not buy a lottery ticket, and another
two.
Yeah, two. One didn't buy, and the other one bought. The other one because what was the other? Anyway, we're going to hear more about that. So be sure and tune in to Emerson Station here at E360 TV. When I say that, he's our director of marketing here, and we're so fortunate to have him. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in today. We want to personally thank you folks out there in TV land, wherever you're watching us, for either live or catching our show on the replay or whatever. You can follow us on Facebook, YouTube, all those good things. And most importantly, love yourself first, then you can love others. And be sure and forgive yourself. And most importantly, keep on keeping on when the going gets tough. And just keep your mind on the things that you want and off the things that you don't want. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.